Hello guys and welcome to this week's ITFC Unrestricted podcast. How are we all doing this week? I hope you've had a good week. I've got myself into a bit of trouble this week. Got a speeding ticket, didn't I? Oh, great. Typical. So obviously last week we had all the Twitter debacle. I thought things were finally looking up until I got the letter dropped through me letterbox on Thursday morning. Norfolk Constabulary. Maybe they know I'm an Ipswich Town fan, but yeah, 40 and a 30, it's my own fault. Can't complain there. Really annoying because it's a village I've driven through for the past 8-10 years that I've been driving. Never seen a police officer. I've never even seen anyone walking in there. There's no pavements or nothing. There's absolutely nothing in the village. But yeah, it looks like they've decided to get the old bobbies involved, and yeah, I've got to await my punishment, it seems. But yeah, they always say that about accidents, don't they? Always happen close to home. But yeah, it's quite ironic, really. I had sort of a quite sporty hatchback, high performance one before I changed my car a few months back, and never got caught speeding once for that. And I'm sure some of the people that know me a little bit better can attest that I wasn't exactly the slowest driver on the roads at times. But yeah, it's come back to bite me now, and probably learnt my lesson. But enough about that. Talking about speeding up, this year's gone really quickly, hasn't it? We're in October now already. It's crazy, and especially where we were sort of 4 or 5 months ago with lockdown, sort of the monotony of day-to-day life with that. And, we're really getting into some solid football action, and yeah, long may it continue. Hopefully we don't see the same outcome we saw 6 months ago with regards to COVID and its impact on football, but we'll have to wait and see, and we'll enjoy the ride for the meantime. So let's go through all the latest Ipswich Town news before seeing how we got on in our second away game of the season and game number 4 of the season against MK Dons. So let's roll into the news.
News team, assemble!
Right, so Sunday, Ipswich ladies carried on their winning ways with a second victory of the season, this time away to Billericay Town. A 3-0 win for the girls, with goals from Sophie Peskett, Paige Peake and Maddie Biggs. And they've had some really big news this week, and I urge anyone who has been down, even if you've just been down the once this season or you were a regular attendee last season, to check out their new True Blue membership packages. So these start with they're £5 per month as a base fee, and it's the money that they generate for this is going to help them build upon the fantastic year that we've spoken about a number of times on this podcast, and build on all the hard work that goes into that ladies' side, because as we know, they don't have the funding like the men's side of the game does. But yeah, you can choose how much you can add on to this £5 monthly fee if you become a True Blue member. And that base £5 already grants you free access to first team and academy home ties for the ladies. You get a monthly draw entry as well, so you can win some prizes, and a welcome package, and the opportunity to attend the awards evening if that does go ahead with COVID. But yeah, the club is striving to make Ipswich one of the leading women's teams in the country, and you can't fault them for their ambition. And who can blame them after what happened last year? And this is an opportunity for you to be that first rung on the ladder to help them rise through the divisions and get more coverage really for women's football. It's not really had the coverage that it's had over the last year or so, and a lot of that good work is all down to Joe and the team, that all the hard work that goes in, which I've been lucky enough to see behind the scenes, all the hard work and dedication down at Playford Road. But yeah, if you are interested, or it's only a £5 a month if you're not paying your season ticket, but you still want to help the club in perhaps another way, you can look at the ladies' side of the game. So Monday, we saw Toto Enciala named in the League One Team of the Week for his performance against Rochdale last weekend. Yeah, really good start from Toto. I think we mentioned it a couple of weeks ago when he was captain in that Carabao Cup tie against Fulham. But yeah, been a part of a defence has kept three clean sheets in the league. And yeah, I don't think he had the best first half last weekend, but certainly in the second half he was rock solid. And I think the club put out on Twitter the sort of tackle and block compilation that we mentioned last week, and he had a really solid game. And I think as a back five, which we've seen not a lot of change in league action. They've been tremendous, both in terms of progressing the ball up the pitch as well as their defensive duties. So yeah, it looks like we're seeing that player that we thought we were getting from Shrewsbury at the time, a couple of years ago. But yeah, he's seemed to come back with this fresh emphasis this season, and yeah, long may that continue. He's still, I think you can always expect a shaky moment from Toto, and we saw that again on last Saturday. But I think you can forgive him if he's going to be solid for 90% of the game. And yeah, if I really hope he can maintain this early season form, because it's only going to benefit us going forward. Obviously, we want to see all our players on top form, but if he's going to keep playing at this level, and then we've got the likes of Luke Wolfenden and Mark McGuinness sniffing around the first team, that's going to keep him on his toes and make sure he continues to perform at this level. But yeah, good to see Toto getting some plaudits at long last. Tuesday, so the club held its Player of the Month vote, with the four candidates being Teddy Bishop, John Noland, the aforementioned Toto Enciala, and the eventual winner, Andre Dazelle. Oh, it's a really tough choice between them two, looking at that on paper. But I think you could argue the case for 5 or 6 candidates and a few that weren't even in the vote, because we've had such a solid and consistent month. 3 2-0 victories, and yeah, obviously we won't talk about the cup action, but that's just standard Ipswich anyway, isn't it? But yeah, Andre's had a terrific start to the season, and I think we're finally seeing him unlock that potential that many of us knew he did have, but we just didn't see enough. But there seems to be a more mature side to his game now, and I really look forward to that first big test once we come up against an opposition of our similar stature, or someone that's going to be chasing promotion like we hope to be. I really want to see how far Andre has gone in that sense, because I'd say he's had not an easy ride. I think Rathbone last week for Rochdale definitely gave him a tough game, and we've seen flashes from opposition, but not over 90 minutes, where you really want to see that midfield war raging on for 90 minutes. But yeah, hopefully he can continue to elevate his game even further when he does come up against these bigger and better players. But yeah, I would like to highlight my Player of the Month, and he's someone who wasn't even in the vote, and it's not going to be the most flashiest choice, but I'm going to give it to Stephen Ward. He's had a really solid month, and capped off with last week's game where he was pivotal in both goals, and I don't think we've seen this level of stability, quality and consistency as a left back for probably since Cresswell and Mings. Obviously we had Knudsen there, but again, his quality wasn't always there. He had some good moments, but generally it was quite middling, especially at championship level. But with Stephen Ward dropping down a level, you can really see the quality that he has, and I think his experience and overall quality when he came in has perhaps been undersold. We've looked at his age being, 35 now, and I think a lot of people have seen him as over the hill, but he's a player that's played, I haven't got the exact figure, but I imagine it's over 200 games in the Premier League across various sides, as well as having 50 plus caps for Ireland. That's no mean feat, and to have that level of experience in the squad, which we haven't got. Let's be honest, we haven't got players who have got a wealth of not only Premier League experience in a past life, but international experience. I know we've got Alan Judge, but he's nowhere near the level of caps that Stephen Ward has got. But yeah, I think he's been terrific, and I really hope he can continue to perform at this level, because we've said in previous weeks that when our better fullbacks aren't in the side, and you bring in the likes of Kenlock and Danasi, and no disrespect to them, they aren't of the same level. But yeah, I think, as we said, there's many worthy winners, and the midfield as a whole, if you could to pick one sort of unit in the squad, you'd have to pick out that midfield who've by and large been terrific for the whole opening to the season. And it looks like we found that right balance that we mentioned in the tactical review, that we need that right balance of midfielders, and Dazelle, Noland and Bishop have been playing really well for the large part of this opening to the season. But yeah, to keep the likes of Emir Hughes and Flynn Downs out of the side just shows how good they've been. But yeah, congrats to Andre Dazelle. But yeah, I don't want any of the other lads to feel hard done by. They've had a terrific month, and as long as they can keep this up, I'd love to have a difficult choice every month for the Player of the Month vote. Another little bit that came out on Tuesday. I'm not going to deep dive too much into a big psychological evaluation of all this, but we've seen a little bit of aggro and fallout about the blocking out the noise celebration, or however you want to interpret it. You know, with St Chambers and now Teddy Bishop most recently put his fingers in his ears, and I think a few people have been a little bit taken aback by it. To put it bluntly, I'm not asked how we celebrate goals, so long as enough of them go in, let's be honest. But we're all disappointed with last season and the general downward direction the club has been headed in for the last few years, and players in this age should be used to criticism. I can see that side and the people's argument with that, but if their answer is by showing fight, sticking it to us in a way and winning games, then long may that continue. And yeah, they can stick their fingers in their ears for 46 games if they really want to, as long as they're at the top of the tree by the end of the season. Wednesday, so another monthly vote. We saw Goal of the Month being held, and another fairly difficult choice, but not really because of overall quality. Well, maybe I'm being a bit harsh there, but I wouldn't say any of the goals were particularly pretty. Maybe more of a team goal, but not what you'd typically associate with a Goal of the Month contest you'd see on the likes of Match of the Day or anything. There's no 40-yard screamers, one after the other. But John Nolan's strike against Bristol Rovers came out on top, and but once again, I'll take a month of flashy, less than flashy goals if we're still sitting at the top of the table. And great to see midfielders amongst the goals. It's something we really wanted to see, particularly from central areas. I know Gwion Edwards has got 2 goals as well, but Bishop and John Nolan chipping in with goals where, we haven't got a wealth of striking options available to us at the minute. So hopefully they can carry that on. It will dry up, but hopefully they can see that, at least for another couple of weeks, or this form returning later on in the season could really stand us in good stead for the season. Thursday, we actually have some Thursday news to talk about. I've actually completely skipped over something here, sorry. It's because I don't want to pronounce his name. Adam Prizebeck has been called up for the Wales under-21 squad for the Euros, their European qualifying match against Belgium. Interesting time for Adam, really. I don't think he's going to see as much first-team football as maybe we would have expected. Unless Holy's injury flares up, Cornell's going to be the backup keeper in cup competitions, it seems. So, but it's good to see he's still held in high regards by his national team setup, and if he's going to continue to get minutes there along with our under-23s, then hopefully that will continue to aid his development. And yeah, it's hard to judge a goalkeeper really until they get thrown in at the deep end. You don't really know what they've got, and we've said it with Will Norris. They're only generally as good as their last mistake, and that's usually what they get remembered for, is mistakes rather than a good solid performance in a game. But right, we will go on to Thursday news now. Before I rudely skipped over Adam's call up there, so we do have some Thursday news. Maybe that's why I skipped over the call up there. I was getting a little bit excited, and yeah, it's not great though. James Norwood will be out for 6 weeks at least with a hamstring injury. So this was rumoured, or what was affectionately labelled by myself as Prezogate, which saw another eruption on social media. That always seems to happen. Always a flare up on Twitter every week. We're getting used to it now, but I think we've seen with James that I haven't been impressed with him to start the season, and we don't know how long this injury has been around, whether this is quite an instant injury that happened in training, but obviously we had all the injuries that went beforehand. But let's jump into, as everyone's had their go on social media, I'll give my pennies worth, a piece of my mind. A lot of facility was being made about this. especially with the Prezzo picture. Oh God, you're gonna hate me for all these puns, aren't you? But yeah, it's depressing, and it does leave me a little bit worried, especially with the striking options that we've got. Jackson yet to make his full return. He may well do as I'm talking against MK Dons, and obviously Aaron Drinan was out beforehand as well. So that leaves us with Falami and Simpson, and I don't think either have the experience yet to break into the first team. And Lambert seemingly doesn't feel that way either, with wanting Falami to go out on loan. But it's well reported, and I think we'll expect that funds are going to be tight. We're not going to bring in a £500,000 £1 million player to replace Norwood if he is injured, and probably don't actually need to, let's be honest. But in this current climate and with the salary cap, I do worry that we are going to go, to quote Stuart Webber from Norwich, go to war without a gun. Things are rosy at the minute, as I've said, with the midfield contributing with their goals, but that won't last forever. I think we all know that, and you need a striker who can turn that half chance into a goal where a midfielder won't always be able to. And there is options out there, but like I said, I don't know if we are in the right financial setup to be able to make these moves happen, especially with the salary cap. We've seen a lot of players, as we mentioned last week, with Luke Garbett perhaps having to take a move elsewhere because a desired move isn't achievable in terms of a financial side of things. And we've seen it again this week, and I predicted it on Twitter, the only time I've probably ever been right. Marcus Maddison has ended up at Charlton, and that's probably what's going to happen to a lot of these free agents. I think the likes of Jackson Irvine and a few other players that left Hull are still without a club at this moment in time, so I'm sure they'll get a few offers from lower down the division where the cap space is a little bit looser, and unfortunately for us, we're going to miss out on a few signings, I think, and we probably have done over this summer because of it. If I was to pick two players that I would like to see to fill the void, they would be Omar Bogle or Niall Ennis on loan from Wolves. So Bogle is a free agent at the moment, and he is, or at least was a goal machine in League Two and below for Solihull Moors and Grimsby, but he got a big move to Wigan and didn't really kick on there, and struggled when he moved to Cardiff, and he's had 4 separate loan spells, most recently with Alan Pardew at ADO Den Haag in the Dutch Eredivisie. So I think it's a low risk sign if we were to make it happen, though. I think there's a lot of competition for him, especially back at League Two level where he's had his success, but there is goal scoring ability there, and I think he just needs that revival, and maybe on a short term deal that we could do that, especially where we are lacking a striker and someone to come in who can contribute, whether it's just a couple of goals until our strikers become fit again, and then we look to trade Bogle at the end of the season. Then maybe that would be an avenue we could pursue, but I'm not sure really took a deep dive into it because it's not obviously a genuine link. It's just a link I'd like to see happen, but not sure why his career sort of stunted when he left for Wigan, whether it was injuries or attitude or bad luck, or maybe just the step up was too great. But he's only 27, and you think if you can get him fit and motivated, there's enough left in the tank for him to make an impact if we were to bring him in. The other player I mentioned was Niall Ennis, who'd perhaps be a safer and ultimately a cheaper bet. He's 21-year-old striker who joined Doncaster last season on loan from Wolves and contributed with 6 goals and 4 assists in 28 games. Quite a quick physical striker, and I think Wolves would probably want to see him, after having a semi-decent year in League One, they'd probably want to see him test himself at Championship level if they can get a club to take him. But who knows, maybe a promotion chasing side like Town, who are in need of a striker, at least in the short term, might be a good option, and maybe we could get him on a loan until January, and then maybe see him move on to another club once we've seen his usefulness come to an end, or even if he has a really solid start to the season and maybe is one of the star performers, we could carry that loan deal on to the end of the season. But the big question is, do I see this happening? And honestly, I don't. I don't see us bringing either of these strikers or any striker in. Maybe Will Keane. I know that was popular with a few people, but no, in this current climate and with the salary cap, given our track record, we've seen this happen time and time again. I don't think we will bring in a replacement because we're just going to pin our hopes that Norwood's going to be back sooner than expected. But I can't see it happening, honestly. But stranger things have happened, and I really hope we can get a deal across the line. And if it is one of these lads, I'll be delighted, whether it is Bogle or Ennis, to see either of them come in, because I think they would both make an impact for us and would suit the style of football we're trying to play this season. No more Thursday news. This is why I got so excited, guys. Not good news either. Another bad news story. We saw a fixture postponement, and no, it wasn't us this time. It was Charlton. So they've taken the opportunity to call off our fixture next Saturday. They've got 3 international call-ups, which is quite amazing, really. But I can understand probably why they've done it, where they're going through this transition with the new owner coming in, who we'll go on to talk about a little bit later. Maybe they want to rest their players before they have a really solid run at this season, and maybe take stock of where they are once the transfer window's closed as well. Gets a few more deals done between now and the deadline, and set them up in good stead for a good run after that. But the provisional date for this fixture that was due to take place at Portman Road is Tuesday the 22nd of December, but there's a few sort of permutations that may change this date. So if both sides exit the FA Cup, so that's us more likely than them, I'd say, in the first round it will be played on Saturday the 28th of November, or failing that, if both sides exit the EFL trophy at the group stage, then it will be played on Tuesday the 8th of December. So not the greatest news, because I would have liked to have seen how we got on against Charlton. I think they would have offered that first real test for this squad. Obviously they've gone through a little bit of a bit of turmoil off the pitch, but Lee Bowyer is a terrific manager, and I'm really surprised he's actually still there, that nobody's taken a punt on him at championship level. Give him a budget and see what he can do. But they've got a solid squad, and that's only going to improve, like I've said. Maybe with this postponement, they're going to take a little bit more time to address a few gaping holes that they've got in their squad. And they've added the likes of Ben Watson, and as we mentioned just a minute ago, Marcus Maddison's also coming on a free, and both of them players are players you'd argue are of championship quality. Let's not beat around that. They have both featured in the championship last season, and now that they've dropped down, they're only going to strengthen that Charlton side. But they've got their new owner come in, so I'm really glad for them. As a football fan in general, that we're not going to see more turmoil in the Football League. They've got Thomas Sandgaard, who describes himself as a rock star CEO, and honestly, you need to check out some of these photos that I've seen on Google and across social media. He looks like a kind of status quo tribute act. It is quite funny, but definitely check that out. But they've lost Macaulay Bonne recently as well. They've had one in and one out, really. Marcus Maddison coming in, and Macaulay Bonne, who's an Ipswich lad, he's gone back up to the Championship with QPR. But where this fixture falls in it's not going to be a good time in any case. It's going to be in that difficult run that we've got, and on paper you'd say that is the toughest point of our season. We've got the likes of Sunderland, Blackpool, Oxford, Portsmouth, Peterborough, and Plymouth, who aren't to be underestimated. All the P's in that spell, but a really tough time, and that Charlton fixture dropping in there is only going to add to a really tough spell in the fixture list, and a busy time. We all know the Christmas schedule is always really busy, and the lead up to it as well. But with a silver lining looking at this, this might be a chance for Ipswich to prove the doubt was wrong and overcome the failures that we had last year, where we struggled against sides that we expect to be challenging. And it's going to be tough, we know that, but if we can come out on top, that might actually be that confidence boost and wave of momentum we need to achieve promotion this season. But we'll see where that fixture falls in, and we'll report back. But that's going to fall at a difficult time, and we'll just have to wait and see. It's a funny old season, a long season, and so long as we get through it, it's going to be many twists and turns along the way. It might not be the first postponement we see this season. Friday, we all know what Fridays are about, don't we? It's press conference day. Paul Lambert was joined by Freddie Sears for media duty this week, and the biggest news being injuries, always seems to be, and free kicks from Freddie Sears at least. Anyway, so following on from Thursday's news, Paul Lambert seemingly hinting that he wants a striker without actually saying the words, but I'll quote his press conference here. If we can get something done, then great, but we'll have to wait and see. I think that was a big wink, nudge to Marcus Evans to, dip his hands into his pockets and get the wheels in motion to try and get someone in. And like I said, I hope it's someone that I've mentioned, but wouldn't be surprised if it's someone we've seen previously, the likes of a Will Keane, or maybe even big Colin Quaynor might make his return. Who knows? But we'll have to wait and see on that one. But as for the other injury news, Alan Judge, Caden Jackson and Luke Wolfenden are edging close to a first team return with solid training sessions. They're back in full training now, which is really good to see. Whether we'll see them in first team action either against MK Dons or later in the week against Gillingham, then we'll have to wait and see. But their return to the first team squad obviously only increases the quality that we've got in the squad, and maybe will add to a few selection headaches for Paul Lambert if performances drop in the first team and these lads are chomping at the bit to get back on the pitch. Then may ask a few questions, but we'll have to wait and see how long it is before they do actually return. But we did see some disappointing news that Cole Scouse will require a minor operation on a knee injury. And yeah, I don't think we're going to see Cole Scouse a lot this season as it is anyway. But yeah, unfortunate for Cole Scouse for his career to end in this way. It looks like he's probably going to start to transition into that coaching role that many of us expect him to fulfill at a later date. But who knows? He may make a return later on in the season. We're lucky at the minute that we don't need another midfielder. Everyone's performing well, and most of them are fully fit as well, which does make a difference. But maybe when we get into that tough spell that we said at Christmas time, we may need a steady hand to come in, a bit more experience in the middle of the park to shore things up later in games when we're trying to secure victories, we hope. So maybe he'll be back for that. But we wish him best in his recovery, and hopefully he'll be back and able to contribute sooner rather than later. Going on to Freddie Sears, as we mentioned, he joined Paul Lambert, and I don't know if this is true, but we'll have to wait and see. He's revealed that he's voluntarily stepped down from free kick duties, with Luke Chambers taking over. Christ, that could go one or two ways. That's either going to end up in the top of the North stand for most of his set pieces, or he could be the next Sergio Ramos or Alex that used to be at Chelsea, and he's going to absolutely rasp him into the top corner. But yeah, we've seen some fairly tame and really very inconsistent efforts from young Freddie. He's not young, is he? He's getting on a bit now, but yeah. And without Alan Judge on the pitch at this moment in time, it doesn't really seem like we've got anyone who is either A, competent at taking free kicks, or B, confident wanting to take them. But I'm really surprised Stephen Ward or Andre Dazelle haven't sort of been chomping at the bit to take a free kick, because I would have thought they've both got the quality to do it, but obviously not. Maybe when Judge comes back, he'll be Mr. Free Kick from here on out. But who knows? Some more Friday news. This may have potentially been resolved with this little bit of Friday news. And yeah, we saw a delivery on Friday, and now it's not a standard takeaway from delivery. It's a Bundesliga winger. That's a mouthful. Bundesliga winger of all people. Well, he's played 3 minutes, but I guess it still counts. We've seen Keenan Bennett has joined on a loan deal from Bundesliga giants Borussia Mönchengladbach. So Bennett is a predominantly left-sided winger, signed for Deifollen in 2018 after being part of Spurs' youth setup since he was a kid. He spent the majority of the 18-19 season with Gladbach's second team, which I think they play in the fourth tier of German football, and he got 1 goal and a couple of assists in 22 games, but last season was injury hit and a few injuries which nothing major, but just slight niggly injuries which kept him out for the majority of that season. But he did actually make his first team debut, that 3-minute spell. Came in on as a late substitute in a 3-0 victory over Wolfsburg. So he's obviously held in high regards by Mönchengladbach, and it's really hard to judge where he is in his development at this moment in time. But I guess they want to see him go out on loan and in a competitive and quite physical league and see if that can be the making of him, and maybe he can go back there next season and push even further on, maybe actually getting into the first team for him. But he's I'll read you the description that when he signed for Mönchengladbach in 2018, that the Bundesliga official English website put on. I'm not going to read too much into it because you only get excited, but let's read this. So the 6 foot tall forward can play anywhere behind the striker. Bennett's is most often found on the left wing, using his blistering pace and dribbling skill to earn himself time to whip crosses into the box. Or like any modern forward, he can play on the right and cut inside to shoot on his left foot. And they've made some lofty comparisons to a certain Welshman, and no, it's not Gwion Edwards. That's a man who's just returned to Tottenham, but we're not going to get ahead of ourselves. I don't think he's there yet. But who knows? From what I can see, it looks like a very decent signing. But I'm going to keep my expectations grounded for now, especially with him and McGuinness. They've come from big clubs, and I've been impressed with how they've interviewed. I don't know how much you can actually read into these interviews. They're often very generic responses, aren't they? But they both seem quite grounded lads, but they have confidence in their own ability. And for Bennett's particularly, I think it's really hard to judge where he's going to fit on the spectrum of lone wingers that we've had. He could be the next Tom Lawrence, Ryan Fraser, or Bersant Salina, or he could be the next Jordan Graham or Anthony Georgiou. But Lambert has said that he's wanted to get this left-sided winger in. Obviously, we had Georgiou last season, and he was, well, very left-footed if you watched him. Very predictable at times, but a lot of people felt he didn't really get the opportunities that he was expecting last season, and that led to that loan spell being cut short. But Lambert describes him as a quick and dynamic winger, left-footed, as we've said, and he hopes that's going to reduce the burden on the likes of Lancaster, Edwards and Sears in contributing from wide areas. But yeah, I'm excited to see him play, and I think he hasn't been registered for Saturday's game against MK Dons, but against Gillingham he could make his first team debut. We'll have to see what he can offer for us. I think he is predominantly left-footed, but I think he has the ability to use his right foot. So that's what you really want to see from a modern winger, ability to use both feet. And yeah, we'll have to wait and see what young Keenan Bennett offers us as a player. But that'll do us for the news this week, guys. Quite a busy little week. Not usually when we've got matches, but obviously next week we've only got one game now with the Charlton postponement. I'm not going to build up the Gillingham game too much because it's the EFL Trophy. There'll be a raft of changes, most definitely from our visitors, I would expect. But we'll try and do something next weekend as well. Maybe if it's been a busy week for news again, then we'll do that, and maybe we'll speak to some special guests once again. Maybe get their impressions on the early part of the season, and but we'll roll into what we're all here for, and let's see if Town have maintained their position at the top of the table with Saturday's game against MK Dons. Obviously, we built it up in the mini match pod, which saw ITFC Analytics make his debut, and I'm looking forward to doing more of those videos as the weeks go by, as I should say. But we can build a game up, but it's up to the lads to deliver on a Saturday, so let's see how they got on. So the final score, Milton Keynes Dons 1, Ipswich Town 1. So Town dropped the first points of the season in the league, and I'm not really looking forward to talking about this game because it weren't exactly pretty. But we'll go through the game. So Town line up with an unchanged starting 11, but Alan Judge and Caden Jackson coming into the squad on the bench. Said they've returned to training, and looks like they're getting closer to return to first team action. Luke Wolfenden was originally listed when they released the squads, but this was later corrected to Emir Hughes. But I guess he's also another one who's closer to a return than perhaps he was a few weeks ago. Russell Martin obviously listened to me mini match pod because he just decided to completely mug me off and make 5 changes and add players that I didn't even talk about. So yeah, the most notable ones coming in were Richard Keogh and Scott Fraser. They're making their first starts for MK Dons. But yeah, let's get into the game. So I thought MK Dons started really brightly and they sort of had a half chance really early on. They forced a corner and we didn't really clear it very well, and the ball fell to Richard Keogh, but he could only sort of stab at the ball, and it didn't really test the Thomas Holy in goal. But we opened the scoring after 6 minutes. So Ollie Hawkins win the ball from the debuting Richard Keogh, sort of left hand side of the MK Dons box. He's trying to clear the ball away, and Hawkins does well to block the ball and turn the ball over. Plays it into Edwards, and his deep cross finds Sears, who does well to bring it under control. It was quite a high cross for him to bring under, but yeah, he returns the ball back in, and sort of a clusterfuck ensues in the box. And Nolan is there arriving, and is there just to scramble the ball home for what's his 3rd goal this season. I think he's only scored 5 for us, so 3 goals and 3 in 4 games is pretty good. Well, it's more than that, isn't it? But even so, for him to be popping up with this amount of goals is really good to see. And yeah, I thought after that we assumed sort of control of the game. That really knocked the steam out of MK Dons for quite a while. We were quite comfortable, and they were having to work hard to win the ball back and break us down. But we're good at breaking the press and looked quite dangerous on the counter attack as well. But our next chance fell to Freddie Sears, and it was a superb interception from James Wilson, and he turned into a classic modern day centre half and went on a mazy run, taking it past a couple of players and playing it out to Sears, who's cutting in from that left flank, and his shot just whizzes across the face of the goal and past the post. But yeah, again, MK sort of grew a little bit into the game as the half went on, but I think we're now about to see the big turning point in the tide of the game, and that's Stephen Ward. So he went down with an injury and played on for a little while, but unfortunately unable to continue. And on a 20-minute mark, he has to go off, and on comes Miles Kenlock, who immediately impacts the game by playing a wayward pass back towards the town goal, and that's intercepted by Colton Morris, I believe it was. But Chambers comes across superbly, covering and blocks the ball, and it goes out for a corner. But great covering from Chambers. But yeah, Kenlock didn't have a good afternoon. Let's be certain about that. And I think MK Dons soon realised that he was the weak link in the side. But yeah, they sort of grew into the game as it went on from this point onwards, really. They had a lot of possession in that first half and throughout the game, which we said in the mini match pod, that is typical MK Dons. Lots of possession, but not always doing a lot with it. But Chambers also went down injured in that first half. And it was an off-the-ball incident with Daniel Harvey, who we'll go on to talk about a little bit later on. I think they got tangled up, which was kind of caught on the camera a little bit, but something seemed to happen off camera that we didn't see. And the suggestions that he could have been sent off, maybe kicked out at Chambers, I don't know. But he escapes with a yellow card. But yeah, I really want to see what went on there. I don't know if we ever will know. Maybe when interviews come out, we'll find out a little bit more. But yeah, MK, like I said, finishing the half stronger. We were defending very well, I thought, for the most part. Enciala in particular had a very good game again. But he was caught napping as Dean Lewington slides this ball through sort of into the half space between Chambers and Enciala, where Joe Mason's running in behind, and he gets in but he fires a shot straight at Thomas Holy's legs. And yeah, that's the most dangerous part of play from MK Dons in that first half. And that was really it for the first half. We going ahead, didn't create many chances. And neither did MK really, despite having most of the ball. But I thought we did okay in that first half, and it's eerie similar to the previous 2 occasions where we've played MK Dons at the Stadium MK in a league tie. We score in the first half and we're fairly comfortable, but in both of those games we'd go on to let MK get into the game a little bit more and put ourselves under the cosh. And we were lucky to come away with 1-0 victories in both of those games. So we'll see what goes on in this second half. But as for MK, it's the same problem they've had all season. Lots of possession, but not where it matters, and ultimately very few chances created in that first half. But they come out for the second half, and again starting really brightly. A dangerous cross from Harvey on that left side. He gets in behind Luke Chambers, but fails to find a teammate. That was literally just as the second half began, really, and they're well on top in the midfield. Our midfield was practically non-existent for a large part of, well, I'd say for most of the game, to be honest. They didn't have a great game by all accounts, but their midfield was doing really well, retaining the ball, turning the ball over and getting them into some dangerous positions. A driving run from Scott Fraser saw his effort blocked, and MK appealed for a penalty, but I don't think it really was. They had a few. They were trying their luck with penalties. A couple of handball shouts where they were trying to get, but there's no VAR, luckily for us, if they were handballs. But yeah, here we go. MK get their reward. Kenlock is caught massively out of position upfield, and that leaves a huge gap. Lasse Sorensen beats Wilson for pace down the MK right. His cross evades Chambers at the far post, and Harvey's there. He finishes really well, but as we said, he's maybe lucky to be on the pitch still. But after that, we quickly make two substitutes. Obviously, we've already made one, with Kenlock having to come on for the injured Ward. And yeah, hopefully trying to regain a foothold in the game, because we were really under the cosh. And I think if MK had been a little bit more clinical and able to create a few more chances, then maybe we would have been looking at a really horrible afternoon. But Judge and Downs joined the action in place of Sears and Bishop, and we're still really struggling to make anything tick. The best bit of play probably in the second half, you would argue, is a neat flick by Edwards, gets him past Lewington, beats him for pace, but his cross evades Hawkins and Judge in the middle. But yeah, following this, Flynn Downs picks up a knock and a yellow card. He's challenging Morris. I think Judge gives the ball away, and MK are on the break, and Downs has to make the challenge to break up the play, but he goes down and he's comes off injured, and we've used all our subs and he's had to go off, so it left a real painful final 20 minutes, and MK really twisting the screw and piling on the pressure. And they, like I said, they knew they had the beating of Kenlock on that left hand side. Anything that was good was coming down the right, or they'd be looking to get someone in at the back stick. And yeah, Holy didn't have a great game either. Had some really scary moments with dealing with crosses, spilling an effort from Scott Fraser later on. He had a shot just on the edge of the box, and luckily for us, Callum Britton was following in from the right hand side where obviously Kenlock was, but he couldn't find the back of the net. And yeah, that final 20 minutes, we were just backs to the wall. We had to switch to a 4-4-1, just trying to hold out. And poor old Ollie Hawkins looked like one of those big electric pylons in one of those empty fields, just sit up top on his own and doing all he can to try and get others into the game with his hold-up play. And I thought he did really well. To his credit, he doesn't look that dangerous in and around the 6-yard box. But in terms of a support striker, helping Town to gain yards by winning free kicks, just holding the ball up, that's all he could really do today, and I thought he did really well at doing that. But yeah, we hold firm with a few scary moments, as I mentioned. Holy was, I'm not very impressed with Thomas Holy today, but I don't think many will pick up on that because he's such a likeable fella. But yeah, we're lucky to escape with a point, I think, and we didn't really deserve it, I'd say. And if MK had been a little bit more clinical, they probably would have come away with the 3 points. So we'll go into the player ratings as we always do. Remember, these are always out of 10. And let me know your player ratings as well. I always like to hear them and have a debate about them. We don't do half ratings on this channel. It's just, you got to nail your colours to the mast and go with it. So we'll go through, starting with the goalkeeper, as we've just mentioned. Thomas Holy, he gets a 5. I think there's some flappy moments there. Made some good saves, but on the whole, not a convincing performance, I'd say. And I think against a better side, we probably would have been punished in that. Chambers got a 6. Solid. Didn't put up any trees. Again, not terrific going forward, but did his defensive work really well, and yeah, I think he played his part in securing the point in the end. Toto Enciala 7, probably I'd argue probably his best performance for us. Really solid at the back. Passing was good as well today. But yeah, again another pivotal man in securing that clean sheet at the end. Wilson gets 6, just a little bit behind Toto Enciala. I feel solid, but passing was a little bit wayward at times, especially long range passing. He had a few which just went absolutely nowhere, and we lost possession of the ball, which we did struggle to do for the majority of the game, I felt, particularly in the second half. Stephen Ward, I can't give him a rating, unfortunately, but yeah, let's hope that injury isn't too serious. Andre Dazelle, I've given him a 5 today as well. I thought the game really passed him by, and I think against Sorensen and Fraser, they really had a lot of joy today, picking up space in dangerous areas on the edge of the box, and this is where Dazelle still needs to develop that defensive side of the game, especially when you're coming up against more attacking and creative players. They are going to try and find that space, and he's got to recognise the danger when it's there. John Noland obviously scored the goal, but second half midfield was absolutely nowhere, and he lost a lot of 50-50 battles in there, particularly against Fraser and Kasumu. But yeah, again, pretty non-existent. And as for Teddy Bishop, I gave him a 5, but I've been chatting to a few people on Twitter, and my good friend ITFC Analytics has made me aware of the fact that Stephen Ward, despite only playing 20 minutes, had more touches of the ball than Teddy Bishop. So maybe a 5 is a bit generous from me, but yeah, again, midfield was poor today. Probably, well, without a shadow of a doubt, the worst midfield performance we've seen this season. Gwion Edwards, I gave him a 5. End product wasn't there. It's a lot better in the second half, but non-existent in the first, and generally flats to deceive. I've seen a lot of comparisons to Lee Martin. A lot of people like Edwards, but I've seen some comparisons to Lee Martin, and I can see where they do come from, but at least he's got 2 goals this season, we'll put it that way. Hawkins, I gave him a 7. Again, people maybe feeling be a bit generous, but unselfish striker. Did really well up there on his own in a really difficult time when we're down to 10 men. And yeah, Kean turning the ball over and contributing, because that led to the goal. And I think anything that was good today, getting us into danger positions, seemed to come through Ollie Hawkins, whether it was his movement or just general hold-up play. Freddie Sears got 6. Didn't do a great deal, maybe a little bit generous again, but probably not a game that we're going to remember. Well, not for the right reasons anyway. Then the subs. Kenlock 4. Useless. Sorry to say. Got some like Andy Tate then. Sorry to say. It's Kenlock. But yeah, it's what I've been saying for a number of weeks. As soon as you take Ward and Chambers or Kane Vincent-Young out of the full-back positions, we're going to see a drop-off, and yeah, abysmal performance. I just think Kenlock struggles to... Maybe he's better when he's playing from the start, but when he comes into the games, he just doesn't seem to be able to judge the pace of a game or dictate, where he fits into the game, and ultimately that cost us in the long run, and we were lucky it didn't cost us further. Downs, can't give him a grade, and we just got to hope that injury isn't too seriously. And Judge 5, again, like most of the midfield, didn't really see him do anything when he came on, and didn't impact the game as much as it was difficult to do when we were down to 10 men. So yeah, not exactly glowing reviews for the Town boys today. As for MK, I'll give them a 7. A typical MK performance, but an improved one. Dominated possession, won the midfield battle. I thought Sorensen and Fraser were particularly impressive for them, and they'll be hoping that they can continue their good form, but they still lack that cutting edge at the top end of the pitch, and I'm guessing they'll be hoping they can get a striker in through the door before the transfer deadline. So yeah, they deserved a point today, let's be honest, and I think considering our performance and the general tale of the game with regards to the 2 injuries and perhaps poor game management from Lambert, where he splurged all his subs by the hour mark, that did cost us in the end. And the Downs injury is typical Ipswich luck, isn't it? Left us in a position where we weren't going to be able to turn the tide of the game, and we didn't have a great deal of possession, and Downs was brought in to shore things up, get us on the ball more, win the ball back, and be a bit more disruptive in midfield. But when I don't think he even lasted 10 minutes, did he? So it's sod's law, really. But we've just got to hope that these injuries to Stephen Ward, I'd say in particular, because without him, I'm really worried about that left-back position. And Downs just don't add to this injury list, which has been fluctuating. We've seen players, there's two on the bench, and potentially Wolfenden isn't far away. They're returning, but obviously that's been offset by James Norwood and Cole Scouse joining the long-term injury list, and now potentially two more to join the likes of Vincent Young and Drinnan. Yeah, I think I've seen after the game, Stuart Watson said that Stephen Ward's got one of those protective spaceman moon boot things on, and Downs was on crutches, so that doesn't sound good, but we'll have to see what happens. But hopefully this break comes at the right time. Obviously we've got the game on Tuesday, which I don't expect us to take too seriously, and neither do I expect Gillingham to take it too seriously. And then we've got a week off before we play Accrington on the 17th, so maybe we can rest up and get a few more players back up to speed. And so yeah, disappointing Saturday. We're not used to that at the minute, but that's football for you. And yeah, we'll roll on, but we'll leave a final word with our good friend, some wise, eloquent words from Gennaro Gattuso.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
So yeah, enjoy the rest of your week, guys. Thank you for listening as always. Slightly longer episode there. The news sort of took up a bit more time than probably I expected it to, but yeah, we'll see how next week goes. Obviously we've got the game against Gillingham in the EFL Trophy. You know my feelings on that, and yeah, we'll see how that game goes. We may see some debutants in that game and some returning players, so there'll be something to talk about, but we'll see how the week goes. We might end up condensing it all into one episode and not do a mini match pod this week. Obviously we haven't got the Charlton game to talk about, as we mentioned, but yeah, thank you for listening this week, guys, and as always, don't forget we've got FNZ as well that you can check out, that if you want to hear more of my lovely dulcet tones over your week next week. So we've got Mickey Adams on the 90+3 podcast series that'll be out just after this video. Again, just like last week, another terrific interview. It's a great character of the game, and he's got some terrific stories to go along with that, so definitely check that one out, as well as last week's one with John Coleman. Two of the best ones we've done, I'd say. And we've got on Monday night regular football show, so covering the broader footballing world. So if you want to interact with us and let us know your thoughts on all things football that we talk about, it's quite an open forum, really. We'll talk about anything and everything that goes on over a football weekend and what's coming up. So if you've got something you want us to talk about, then get involved. But until next week, guys, have a good week and see you soon. Take care. Thank you for watching or listening to this week's ITFC Unrestricted podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Deezer and TuneIn. If you haven't already, make sure you follow, download or subscribe so you never miss an episode wherever you are listening. A new episode will be live on all platforms at 6 p.m. every Sunday. For more immediate reaction to all the latest town news, give me a follow on Twitter at rskid26. Go on, you know you want to. Until next week, I've been your host, Mark Beck. So take what you need, be on your way, and keep on following town.